Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Here.
Trustee Dodge?
Here.
Trustee Calandrella? Trustee Healy?
Here.
Trustee Katsinas?
Here.
Trustee Milani?
Here.
Mayor Pico?
Here.
Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of February 1st, 2021 Committee to Hold minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Committee of the Whole of February 1st, 2021.
Second. Any questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
(2021) Pavement Maintenance Bid Award.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
move to recommend to the Village Board to accept the bid from Matthew Paving, Inc. of Oak Lawn, Illinois for the 2021 asphalt paving maintenance project in an amount not to exceed $755,000, $542,546.25, plus $212,453.75 contingency.
Second. Any questions or comments? Trustee Dodge.
George, why such a large contingency?
Yeah, maybe Joel, you got a little presentation, and then we can talk about the contingency.
Okay.
Right.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The asphalt paving maintenance contract that we have here tonight is for both paths and parking lots. I'm going to go through a couple of the locations of those efforts. The first slide here is the paths. We're doing some overlay along Centennial, along 159th Street. Right now that path is a gravel path, and this will connect with another asphalt path and get to 108th Ave. The next one is overlay on Ravinia Ave. That has shown a lot of wear and tear, as well as the other one along 151st Street. So both those paths need some maintenance on it. For parking lots, we're doing some work near the Schussler Park, where we on the exterior edge of the park. There's some parking lots that need some resurfacing in these locations. Also, we have some sidewalk extensions just to connect a couple of locations in the park. Also in Veterans Park on the east side of town, this park has parking that is worn along the street just east of the tennis courts there. We're also doing some patching and restriping and actually replacing a garbage enclosure concrete pad near the Civic Center right here next to the Village Hall. And then we're also doing some patch restriping, resurfacing of some Centennial parking lot areas. This will extend the life of those parking lots for a few more years as we're doing that work there. Also, we're doing some seal coating and restriping in several of the parks. One is Heritage Park. The History Museum is in badly need of some seal coating and restriping, as well as the Sportsplex. That parking lot is in need of work. And then lastly, we're doing some resurfacing in the John Humphrey complex, just the west of this building. The last thing on the list is restriping all metro lots. It's a great opportunity with the ridership of being a little bit lower to get in there now so we don't impact them and go ahead and extend the life there by doing some restriping and sealing of those parking lots. On your question for contingency, I have a couple slides. How we approached that is the bids came in very favorably. As you can see, it ranged from $700,000 to about $500,000. Because of the bid, the low bid, who is very interested in working, they've been bidding on this contract since 2017. They really wanted this contract bad. So they came in with a very aggressive bid. And so with the difference, we identified other areas in the village that we know need help. Above you, on this slide, you can see it's in Mallard Landing, having 2 additional sidewalk paths being resurfaced, as well as we're putting in some pavilions and parks. Well, sometimes when you put those in the parks, you need some connection points there. So we'll be looking to do some work. These are not final numbers. It's a unit price contract, so we'll be able to get the actual pricing from the contractor on this work for that contingency. And then in the parking lots, we're looking at some ADA improvements by the Sportsplex on the northwest side. Also, there's a deteriorated parking lot just in the ball fields by 153rd parking lot there. And that work can be done to resurface that parking lot. And then we'd also looked at Centennial Park, a couple patches in there, and then also Village Hall here if we have some money to reseal. Now also it allows us a little contingency money also, just in case there is some things that do pop up throughout the year that the village manager may direct Public Works to execute, and this contingency allows us to execute with speed and flexibility to do that work.
So everything on those last 2 slides are now possible because of the very favorable bids that we received. So an original estimate for the base project was 731, and it came in at, we're going to be awarding it at 542. Because of that, that's what the contingency is for using unit pricing that was included in the bid to do more projects.
Mayor Pico?
Trustee Dodge.
So George, you and staff only input to these projects? They were on the list of things to do when we had the available funds? Is that what I'm hearing? Only staff had input to this choice?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Fenn?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Title 7, Chapter 15, Tobacco License, Proposed Amendments.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
I move to recommend to the Village Board of Trustees to approve amendments to Title 7, Chapter 15 of the Orland Park Village Code as presented above.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Could,
George, you want to give a quick
yeah,
overview?
Ed, could you just give a quick overview?
Sure. First of all, just some cleanup items from in the original attachment. There were this section of the village code has been amended in previous meetings by the police department to reflect the changes from changing the minimum age to purchase and possess tobacco from 18 years of age to 21. So in the original attachment that the board is presented before the board, some of those are shown not to be incorporated. They weren't published at the time that the attachment was created, but we are aware of that, and they will be incorporated into the overall change. And any other instances where it references that age will also be incorporated into the changes that we're proposing. So this it has come as staff has seen an increase in the number of tobacco licenses that are being requested, and the provisions of the existing tobacco licenses require that no tobacco store can be located within 100 feet of any school, childcare facility, library establishment, or any business that provides any education or recreational programs for the persons under the age of 18. That last portion of the provision requires some research on staff's part to determine the location and also all of the services offered in a particular area in question. That has led to a significant increase in the amount of time spent on these inquiries, and as a result, we are seeing that we offer a lot more businesses that offer these types of services that would disqualify a potential tobacco store from going in. So the staff time that's being invested, the person that's looking for a space is not being able to find one, and they wouldn't have already. So what we're proposing is a cap on the amount of tobacco licenses that exist, and adding the classification of tobacco licenses. Essentially, there would be two classifications of a tobacco license. One that provides tobacco as an accessory to the sales, and it's not the primary retail sales that they provide. And the other would be a tobacco store that derives their primary function from the sale of tobacco, alternative nicotine products, so it includes vape shops, and everything is incorporated into the definition of tobacco. Based on the current licenses that we provide, there are 24 licenses that would fit the description of accessory tobacco sales and 12 that fit the description of a tobacco store. This would require that if one of these locations were to close, similar to how the liquor licenses functions, the village board could vote to reduce the number of licenses, and there would be no additional issued until the village board of trustees were to vote on it. And then similarly, just in clarification in the calculating the distance requirements that are provided for in the village code currently. First of all, there are situations where a business may be greater than 100 feet away from another business, but it still may face it because it's only due to the right-of-way length. So in those instances, certain provisions are being added so that if the intent is not to have any markings from the tobacco store facing an institution that offers services to minors, then there's provisions being added so that they can't occupy a location that's directly facing that institution, and then if there is signage incorporated, it also cannot face that institution. The other is, for example, we measure from lot line to lot line. So a business may not, by way of the lot lines, may be greater than 100 feet to an establishment that offers these types of services, but it could still be incorporated within the existing lot in a multi-tenant situation. So we're clarifying that to be 1,000 feet from another licensed facility. And let's see here. Again, just further clarification so that it's not on the same contiguous property. So those items are up for discussion. Like I said, if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to ask.
Are there any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Fenton.
My question is, it sounds like it's making it stricter and more difficult, and we're also going to start limiting the number, correct?
There will be a limitation on the number of licenses issued, correct?
Okay, but we haven't eased up on any criteria in order to obtain that license.
We've made it easier for staff to interpret, but the requirements themselves aside, the only one the provision that's being added is a clarification that they cannot be within 1,000 feet of another licensed tobacco facility, and that's in the instance where they're on the same lot, and they would be technically greater than 100 feet from lot line to another location. So clarification amendments to the existing provisions, another provision that could be interpreted as stricter interpretation, but nothing is being less
than what we currently have.
difficult, I guess.
Thank you.
Also, you need to fix 15-2, the typo in there. There's 36 licenses, and the next paragraph is 35. It should be 35. So if you can fix that
Yes.
when it comes to the board. Any other questions, comments? Call roll.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Callender? I'm sorry. Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Review of the village's investment programs, investment advisors, and investment policy.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to recommend that the village board adopt a resolution adopting an investment policy and approving investment advisory firms.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
I have questions. Mayor Pico,
Trustee Dodge.
are we going to hear the presentation, or do you want questions first?
Kevin has a presentation, if you can.
Thank you. Board trustees, thank you, and Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to review the village's investment policy and our investment program this evening. So we're going to talk tonight real briefly about our investment policy and some of the changes that are being proposed, what our overall investment objectives are, a high-level overview of where our money is, and how we ensure security of village assets. So our policy is adopted pursuant to the Illinois Public Funds Investment Act, and we review that, staff reviews that annually. It was last acknowledged by the village board in a public meeting in 2017. It doesn't come to the board every year, but it is reviewed annually by staff to make sure that it remains in compliance. This year we sent our investment policy to our 2 investment advisory firms for their review and comment, and with the turnover in staff, we had some additional changes to be added for some clarifications. There was also some recent changes in state law that were added. So it's just clarifications and some updates in state law, really not a major change in how we do things. So it's just a few changes that you would see in the investment policy. Things like we added a definition, a more thorough definition of the prudent person standard. That's the standard that is used to judge how we should be investing our dollars as a prudent person standard. We're clarifying the allowable investments. We're not adding anything new or changing the allowable investments. We're just clarifying them just to put them in separate bullet points as recommended by our investment advisors. One thing we are doing is changing our collateral requirements from 110% of covered assets to 105%. The GFOA recommended practice is 102%, so we are recommending the policy be higher than the recommended practice. A couple other things, corporate bonds, which we do not have, they're allowed to be up to 3 years. We would like our policy to have corporate bonds up to 270 days. So what are the allowable investments? Well, first off, equities are not allowed. We cannot hold stocks. We do not have any money in any real estate investment trusts, things along those lines. Our only options are mostly fixed income, but very highly secured assets and investment vehicles. Pension funds, like our police pension fund, they do have the ability to invest in some equities, up to 65%, depending on the value of assets of the pension fund. But these limitations on our available investment vehicles really limit our ability to generate investment income. But the overall perspective is that does ensure the preservation of principal. So these are just a list of the allowable investments, and really what this is, we are allowed to invest in federal government-backed agencies, Ginnie Maes and treasuries. It's very low interest, but very secure, backed by the full faith and credit of the federal government. Also, we can purchase certificates of deposits, which we have a number of those, and commercial, investment grade commercial paper. Again, we do not have any of those. I'm not going to go through the entire list of those, but we also have the ability, I want to touch on the last bullet, the local government investment pools. Those are available to us as an investment vehicle. The one change in state law that has been incorporated into the policy relates to the Illinois Sustainable Investing Act. That act requires that all governments that have an investment policy need to have ESG factors as part of their investment decision-making process. We don't have to actually have these as a priority, a top priority, but they need to be a factor in making investment decisions. And those factors include environmental, social capital, governance, human capital, and business model and innovation. Those are specifically identified in that investment in the Sustainable Investing Act. So when we look at our investment policy on a day-to-day basis, what are our primary objectives? And these are our top 4 objectives. First off, legality. We don't look at anything that is not permitted under state law or under our policies. Safety of our assets, that's preservation of capital. First off, our first objective when we're deciding that is we don't want to lose dollars, lose assets of the village. Liquidity, that relates to access to cash when we need it. We measure out or do cash flow forecasts to identify when we need funds, and we invest to those dates. And then lastly is yield and how much interest we can actually earn. But those are the order of priorities when we are investing public dollars. It's just a snapshot. We have our money in four main places. Our first is our daily operating bank, that's BMO. We have about 38% of village assets at BMO at this time. We have two investment advisory firms, PMA Financial Network and Hammond Investment Management, and those two make up 44% and 13% of invested assets right now. And then the remaining 5% is an investment pool at the Illinois funds, managed by the Illinois State Treasurer's Office. So our operating bank is BMO. We have a number of operating accounts for various purposes. That doesn't provide any investment income, but it actually provides a credit to offset our bank fees. Currently, that credit rate is 0.35%. That doesn't seem like very much, but that's about double what we can get on investing new CDs or treasuries at this time. So we really watch that bank balance, make sure we're maximizing the credit for our bank fees right now. Overall, with all of our accounts, including our component units, we have about $30 million sitting at BMO right now. We have two investment advisors, PMA Financial Network and Hammond Investment Management, as I said. And we have a few different accounts. One is Village Commingled Dollars. Another is Main Street Triangle TIF funds, both at Hammond and at PMA. And then we opened up a new account, the 2021 bond proceeds account, where we will receive the bond proceeds in the next week or so, and then we'll draw those down as we make that capital spend over the next few years. Both of these investment advisors have a combination of treasuries, Fannie Mae, Federal Home Loan Bank securities, and we do have some certificates of deposit with PMA, and they're in a laddered situation where we buy 3-year CDs, and then every few months some of those mature, and we either reinvest, or if we need the cash, we liquidate those. Our MO is we purchase the investments and then we hold them to maturity. We don't buy and sell them, we just buy them and hold them to maturity. On a quarterly basis, we do mark to market, which is every quarter, whatever the value of the assets are as they change over time, that's when we make the adjustments in our financial system. PMA, we have about $34 million before these bond proceeds, and at Hammond, we have about $10 million. The remaining $4 million is at Illinois funds, and that is where we receive various tax deposits. The investment makeup at Illinois funds mirrors what we have in other village accounts, mostly AAA rated investment vehicles throughout Illinois funds. So how do we keep our money safe? Well, at BMO, we do have FDIC insurance up to about $250,000. Well, that's not nearly enough to cover the assets that we have there. We do have a collateral agreement. So BMO has money set aside at another bank that is in our name up to and above the difference. So if something were to happen to BMO, then we would be able to collect or draw on those collateralized assets as a security. For all the other government securities that we have, those are backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. With PMA, we have a number of CDs, and each individual CDs are secured up to $250,000. So when we're buying CDs, we keep that in mind. So we buy CDs that are under that amount. So each individual CD is under that $250,000 threshold and is therefore FDIC insured. So there is coordination between the investment advisors. They talk to one another so that we're not having two CDs with two institutions at the same bank. And then Illinois funds, as I mentioned, only the highest rated AAA investments are in their portfolio. That's an overview of our investment policy, our investment practice. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Healy?
Kevin, does Hammond or PMA, are they required to have fidelity bonds? I mean, do we trust that their money's there and statements are correct? And
We receive independent statements from, I know from Hammond, and I know we also receive statements from PMA.
so they don't control the assets? I mean, it's not in their name, it's in a brokerage name, or?
Correct. I know that Hammond the money is at Schwab.
Okay.
And PMA, it's called iPrime.
Okay,
Any other questions?
thank you.
Mayor Pico?
Trustee Dodge?
I have 4 questions for staff. How long have we had a relationship with BMO Harris? Or BMO, whatever the name of the bank is?
I don't know when we selected them. I know that the contract was renewed, I believe, last year or the year before. So I would imagine, I believe it was about 6 or 7 years.
Okay, perfect, thanks. And then the policy that we're updating tonight, how long has that been in place? That's been required by law for a long time, correct? So this is not new, this is an update.
That's correct. This is an update.
Okay. And then on the corporate paper, you said we don't hold any now. Are we proposing to hold corporate paper because they typically pay more than government bonds for a lot of reasons?
We are not proposing that we hold corporate paper. There's much more risky, minimal risk when we're looking at like AAA rated, but we are not proposing that we purchase corporate paper at this time.
And then finally, and this is somewhat tongue-in-cheek, when ESG turns out to be yet another investment fad, can we maybe send a bill to the state of Illinois to compensate us for missed returns for doing it the right way?
We could.
Okay, just checking. Thank you.
We have not made any specific investment decisions based on that. What we have done is just had conversations with PMA and who would make those particular decisions. As it is right now, we do not, because we don't have any stocks, we just have CDs in certain businesses. It's a very small portion of our portfolio, so it's a minimal impact that would actually direct those particular decisions.
Mayor Pico, where I'm going with that point is, I could see, since it's such a fashionable idea right now in investing for a lot of reasons, I could see the push from state law down to entities like us to think about it for a bond or a commercial paper portfolio. Because if you decide that all of a sudden Exxon, for example, is now a green company, we want to start holding Exxon paper. Not that I'm arguing for that, I want to be clear. So I just wanted to put it out there that there could be pressure through state law to follow this because we do have the right to have commercial paper. That's my point. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
You said Exxon? You sure the state wouldn't be pushing Exelon?
Yeah, either one of those. But I think, and thank you for that, Mayor Pico. It's like the people see my point, which is state law shouldn't be dictating this.
Any other questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Getzinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye. Any non-scheduled citizens or visitors? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Getzinas?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye. We're adjourned until 7 for the board meeting.